Today, on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Grayson Allen optimistic he will be back for opening night, meaning a fully healthy Suns roster to get the season started. What can we expect from Grayson, the rest of this Suns bench, and the players they didn't keep? Next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen to kick off your Tuesday, one day closer to opening night. Don't forget, Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So just click that follow or subscribe button. Join us, do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode, guys, brought to you by the best place to buy a ticket. That's the Game Time app. Download it, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off that first purchase. Joining me, as always, the executive producer of The Drive on Fox Sports 910 from the Wild West Valley. How are we feeling on this Tuesday, Ben Garcia?
The weather is so nice. I woke up this morning at a crisp 4 a.m. to a 56 degrees outside. That was nice. We've done it. The weather is back. I was looking again over here when the first Suns game is, like the first home Suns game. We got to wait until next Monday. Friday.
Believe.
Did I miss that? No, they're on the road. That's against the Lakers.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, because I definitely thought that they were staying in LA for Clippers, Lakers, and then at home next Monday against the Lakers.
That's great news, actually. No, Saturday is home. I will be there. Friday is on the road. But
Saturday,
that's very
Mavericks.
good news that
Saturday
Friday
Mavericks.
is on the road, because I thought I was missing that game. I thought I was missing the home opener because my little sister is in town from college and we're celebrating my wife's birthday. So I was like, Friday, we don't have to do a podcast.
But
I'll just skip that one. But I'm all good.
But don't say anything. Because I know your wife is probably not paying attention to the Suns. Just tell her that you're still missing the game. That will get you. Hey, you are much more important than a stupid Suns game. That's what you need to do.
Exactly.
I shouldn't even have told you. You could have just
plan change at all. Just make myself look good. All right, Grayson Allen at practice on Monday indicates that he views himself, Ben, as ready to go here. Achilles soreness, obviously missed a little bit of time with what we assume was the birth of his child. I don't know if that was confirmed while I was out of town, but we'll go ahead and keep assuming that that's what it was. So kind of getting back into things, has that soreness. He believes he'll be ready to play on Wednesday, Ben. Mike Budenholzer spoke after Grayson, I believe, and said basically that they are kind of still in wait-and-see mode, but Grayson is probably, of the three guys, Okogie, Lee, and Allen, Grayson is closest to being back. Where are you with Grayson? We didn't get to see a lot of him in preseason, but this is great news. And a fully healthy team to start the season.
Yeah, it is great news to have a team that is fully healthy to start the season, where last year it automatically got off on the wrong foot, where guys were injured left and right. Devin Booker, if I'm not mistaken, got injured in the first game last year.
Yeah.
I just didn't want a repeat of that. Just allow me to get through the first 3 weeks without a major injury. Now, listen, people are going to turn ankles. Guys are going to pull hamstrings. No one's injury prone for that nonsense. It just happens. But Grayson Allen, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little concerned just because of what it is. If it was a hammy, sprained ankle, like I'd mentioned before, I don't know, sprained wrist, wouldn't be too worried about it. The fact that it is listed as a sore Achilles, as I'm just looking down on it right here, it does worry me a little bit with Grayson, because we've just seen it with guys before, most notably Kevin Durant, where guys come back too early and they re-aggravate it, or God forbid he tears his Achilles. I trust Grayson, and it's the beginning of the season, and they're being extra cautious, but it does send a small shiver down my spine.
Yeah.
That he could come back too early, that he could get injured, that it could be. I have big expectations for Grayson Allen this year. Should I be worried? Do you feel that way? Or do you think all good, ready to go, calm everyone's nerves, he's going to be fine?
I don't think it's an overreaction with that particular injury, and I'm sure it's just part of the carefulness that they're having, like you said. What I would throw in is this guy also gained weight in the offseason, right? That was a big emphasis for him. And, we kind of had our jokes about it, but it's pretty obvious. At media day, he said, maybe 10, 15, 20 pounds heavier than he was this time a year ago. And that's an adjustment. So he already was going to be dealing with a little bit of a different physique and a different kind of, wear and tear. And on top of that, Ben, he also, I think, is going to be playing a slightly different role than he did last year in terms of the ways that he is used on the offensive end of the court. Last season, he was a spot-up player almost 100% of the time. And when he wasn't doing that, he basically was kind of a secondary initiator, somebody who might walk the ball up the court and be not a point guard option, but at least somebody who could throw an entry pass or get the offense going and then go kind of stand in the corner and adjust from there. This year, we know that Grayson is going to be used as a screener, as somebody who's running around off the ball in a more, fatiguing kind of role, actually coming off screens and moving and bending the defense, not just standing still. I asked Mike Budenholzer about it at the last preseason, or the first home preseason game, actually, where what do you want guys to be doing, these smaller players like Beal and Grayson, who we've seen being used as screeners and rollers? And Grayson talked about that at media day. What do you want their reads to be? And Bud said they need to get comfortable inside. Can they grab an offensive rebound? Can they catch the ball around the basket and be able to put up a good shot attempt? Can they, go set another screen or just be comfortable used in those parts of the court that they might not be used to? That's going to be a bigger burden physically. So I guess that's all to say. I get why they would be careful. I do think it's going to be an adjustment for Grayson. He might think he's going to play no matter what, but I could see the coaches saying, who cares? You don't need to be there for the first game at the Intuit Dome. We'll be there again on Halloween, Grayson. You're going to sit on Wednesday.
I also it's not like right now, I'm kind of contradicting myself because I had said before, I just want everyone healthy. But I'm less worried about Grayson Allen's ability to get healthy than I was about Bradley Beal last year. Everyone was just kind of take as much time as you need. I'm not really worried about with Grayson. If he needs the extra week, just give him the extra week. As well as you're going up against this week on Wednesday, tomorrow, when this is airing, you're going up against a shorthanded Clippers team. You might not even need the guy. He's probably fine. I'm probably the one over-exaggerating it. But it is going to be a different offense where Grayson Allen's going to be moving around a lot. It's not a lot of this just catch and shoot type of offense for Grayson Allen, which is already something that, again, where he's not going to shoot 46% from three this year. You just expect with him moving around more, with him having to set screens, with him having to, shoot off of without even, taking a dribble. He's going to have much more opportunities, I believe, to miss this year because things aren't going to be as simply flown through him like they were when Devin Booker or Kevin Durant would just kick him out the ball because those two guys were on the court and most of the time everyone else was more zeroed in on him. Him coming off of the bench is just going to add a different layer to this offense. And again, it all just comes back down to the injury thing where we all believe this team is so deep, right? 8, maybe even 9 guys deep. Grayson Allen is just a guy I don't want to lose to a potentially catastrophic injury. And then that 8-9 man lineup turns into 7. And Grayson Allen isn't your 6th best player anymore. Or 5th best player anymore. It's someone else. So another thing is, I do wish I got to see more of Grayson in the preseason. Again, contradicting myself because I want the guy to get healthy. But thankfully, him not being in the starting lineup does alleviate some of that worries for me because one of the reasons why I wanted Jusuf Nurkic back at least for one game was I just wanted to see how it was going to flow. I did not want to see them in the first preseason game go through this dress rehearsal while the games are actually being played. So Grayson Allen coming back is great news, and I'm excited for it to see it off the bench. I do just hope the guy is healthy because he's going to be asked to do a lot more this year than he was last year, especially carrying that second unit.
Let's talk about that role and who else might fill out that rotation around Grayson Allen as this lineup starts to come into focus headed toward opening night. We'll get there next. But first, today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL and NBA fans start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get that hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Monday Night Football will be here by the time before you guys are hearing this. The Chargers probably just going to, run for 4,000 yards here in the Valley on Monday night. But the World Series is locked in, guys. Game 1 on Friday night, a series we've all been, I think, kind of hoping for. Although, we want the Dodgers to lose, but it'll be more fun to watch them go down in the World Series, I would think. Over-under run total is 8.5. The money line, Dodgers are favored -130. Put a little money against the Dodgers. You get the 200 in bonus bets no matter what, and have some fun next NFL weekend. That's all at FanDuel.com. Alrighty, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. So, as you mentioned, you want to avoid the absolute worst-case scenario with Grayson Allen. It is unlikely. This is a guy who's played at least 66 games in each of the past 3 seasons. He was an Iron Man for the Suns last year. He's improved every step of the way. He's added muscle. He's developed his game. He's sitting pretty on a brand-new contract. He is going to be this Suns team's 6th man. So I want to talk about the rest of the rotation and kind of what that staggering might look like, what kind of lineups do we want to see, who are those 7th through 10th men that you were alluding to previously. First, Ben, we got a newsletter now, LockedOnDaily.com. People can go sign up, and they'll get content from around the Locked On universe, as well as the NBA and Suns universe, your one-stop shop every day for basketball content delivered straight to your inbox. The link's at the show description below. You and I are going to be putting some stuff in there. It'll be a good way to keep up with the podcast. And we got awesome writers at the national level, fantasy and NBA stuff for people to read through. It's free, best of all.
Everything that is good in life is free. Doesn't have to give anything out of your pocket to figure it out. The daily newsletter is awesome. Something they've been rolling out or trying to roll out for a little bit now, but getting it right before the NBA season, you had mentioned at your one-stop shop. It's going to be amazing.
So click that link below or go to your browser and just type in Locked On Daily. We'll be talking about it plenty, but let's get to it. So Grayson Allen, I want to kind of start with the staggering, Ben, because I don't think it's going to be, it's not 1995. We're not going to see full bench, full starters. And you were saying this a minute ago in terms of how Grayson's shots might come and everything, and I think that there was a point in there that I wanted to highlight even more. Part of the ripple effect of Grayson Allen, or of the big three taking more threes and the ball being in Tyus Jones's hands more, is that Grayson Allen is no longer going to be that easy, constant release valve, because that release valve might just be Kevin freaking Durant now, and it might start from a Tyus Jones pick and roll. Whereas last year, it would be Devin Booker with Nurk setting him a screen. Book goes downhill. Grayson's in the corner, and Grayson just feasts on these open shots once the defense starts to rotate and he's left open. So I think it's not a coincidence that we saw from the jump Bud try to diversify how Grayson's going to be deployed here. With that all kind of in mind, what kinds of lineups do you want to see him in, and how much do you think he can actually produce this season?
In situations that matter, so playoff games, close games, late in the season, I never want Grayson Allen to be the number one focal point on the court with the basketball. There are going to be times where they're being blown out, or they're blowing someone out, or it's just not that important of a game. Second half of a back-to-back where you're trying to give Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, those top three guys, even Tyus Jones into that equation, a blow, right? But for situations that matter, I want Grayson Allen to never be the first person on the court to be getting all the attention, because that just doesn't work out. Either Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, or Devin Booker have to be with that second unit at all times. I think the biggest thing that I want to see from Grayson Allen, before I just say, as well as the offense that they're going to run him, I want to see how much of his own shot he can create, because when people say that, it's like, okay, he's not going to do that. Well, Grayson Allen's going to the bench, which means for the most part, he's going to be facing second tier competition. He's going to be going up against the opposing team's bench. I do want to see how much of that muscle mass is going to allow him to create his own shot. Give guys a little shimmy shake off the shoulder, hit your 3-point shot, get to the rim more effectively. And as well on the defensive side, he's probably, that's probably not true, Ryan Dunn probably is, but the second most important defensive assignment he's probably going to get. So I just need to see as well, when it's the bench unit, more plays drawn up for Kevin Durant, for Grayson Allen as well. And that's coming out of inbound passes, or coming off of screens outside and on inbound. So that's what I want to see from Grayson. A lot of creating his own shot.
Yeah, okay. So the physical maturation is one thing. I guess to me, if that was going to be part of his game, I think we would have seen it by now. I mean, he is 29, and it's not even just about the physical. It's also that he doesn't have an elite handle. His quickness to get past players is not really there. He had those seasons at Duke where he could do it, but that's a different situation. I don't think I'm willing to go there, but if you just look around the league, part of why I've been so fascinated and excited by the idea of using Grayson as that screener, whether he's rolling, whether he's popping, whether he's getting the ball at all, or just sort of being I don't even want to say decoy, but kind of like a magnet that pulls the defense toward him wherever he might happen to be on the court. That deployment of a lethal shooter like Grayson has been worked to perfection in so many different other teams, that the Suns were, again, leaving meat on the bone last year by not trying it out. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, the way that they use a guy like Isaiah Joe, not a player that maybe every NBA fan notices, but basically the only killer shooter on the Thunder's roster. He will start possessions in that dunker spot along the baseline and then sprint to the perimeter. Or the chemistry that he developed with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being a screener and just kind of floating around and knowing how his gravity was going to bend the defense to create space for the best players and for himself to get open shots. Whatever it ends up looking like, I just think, even if we agree, Ben, that Grayson is going to tick down a little bit when it comes to his shooting percentage, I just think that there's so much more you can do when somebody is this level of shooter than to just kind of put them as a floor spacer and hope it works. So maybe the answer is somewhere between what you and I want, but I definitely think that there's more there. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do want to push back a little bit. I do think Grayson Allen does have the ability to, these guys are obviously different, but kind of not so different. What the Suns were missing last year was their own Malik Monk. Every good offense, every good team has their Malik Monk. I say Malik Monk because, in my opinion, I just think he's the best guy off the bench, which is why, if I'm not mistaken, last year he won Sixth Man of the Year. But I mean, he was more efficient than Monk last year. Monk was going up against second-tier guys off the bench. I do believe Grayson Allen, with his ability, who he's bigger and he's taller than, can be the Suns' version of that. And if they can get that guy, that opens up a whole new world off the bench.
Faster than him. Monk
he
is
does.
Like one of the fastest guys in the league. So him creating his own shot, he's going to beat his man every time, right?
No, absolutely. He does. He is able to have that. But what is the other way if you're going to get to the basket? If you're not faster than the other guy, if you don't have that Bradley Beal first quick step, which Bradley Beal absolutely still has, which De'Aaron Fox has, which Malik Monk has, you have to get bigger. And part of that is playing a little bit of bully ball. Maybe that is part of what Grayson Allen is going to do this year. And I do believe Grayson Allen does have the ability to be that guy. And even if it's not Malik Monk, is it a lesser version of Austin Reeves shooting the basketball off the bench. Like, I do think he can do that. And that's why I was so thrilled to see the guy go to the bench, because now the Suns have the ability to have that guy that can, at times, come off the bench and just unload and have 25 points, but most of the time be 13 to 14.
You're absolutely right that, look, he should be able to do what you're asking him of, that I'm skeptical of. It should be easier against bench players. So, like, I hear you loud and clear on that, and maybe there is something that opens up for him when he's going against. And look, I started the whole thing by talking about staggering and lineups and all that. It's not only that he's going to be on the bench, but we assume, like you mentioned, the Suns have a big three. They should never have a lineup where one of those guys is not on the court. Even Frank Vogel figured that out. So you're talking about Beal or Booker or Durant on the court at the same time as Allen, where he's having an even easier and more open space to attack and dominate those types of players. He has never been a guy that's gotten to the free throw line much at all. I think that's a place where you could see, even if he's maybe not creating consistent, like, awesome offense, even just being able to bully himself, like you were saying, to the free throw line a little bit more would help him and go a long way for this team. So there's definitely pathways toward it. We didn't even get to the rest of the rotation. I think it's pretty obvious what it's going to be. O'Neal, Dunn, Plumlee, Morris, right? That's the 10.
Grayson, Dunn, O'Neal, Monte. Well, no, Plumlee, Monte. God, it just goes back to this team's deep. I don't know if we're going to find some minutes for Monte Morris like we want to do, but whatever.
Well, that'll just probably depend on if they go 9 or 10, right? And we'll just sort of have to see. I think Bud's kind of alluded to different things over the course of the preseason. Last question for you.
Just really quickly. Dunn has surpassed Royce O'Neal on this list, right? We're already past that. Okay.
So.
We're in agreement. I just wanted to get that out there.
They're at least going to get equivalent minutes on opening
but
night.
Ty goes to the younger guy in the regular season. That's just where I'm at. Maybe not in the postseason.
It would benefit them to develop him as much as possible. So that definitely
they're going to need him. So
encourage it.
In agreement.
You mentioned Malik Monk. Grayson Allen, 6th man of the year. What do you think?
I don't think that's crazy. I don't think it's crazy for Grayson Allen to be the 6th man of the year. Is he going to shoot 46% from three? Is he going to shoot 50% from the field? No. But if the guy is a 45% from the field, as I'm literally pointing to stats, and 43% from three, and shoots, and this is very possible, 90% from the free throw line, and as well as a capable defender and expands his game, yes, Grayson Allen has all the tools to be the 6th man of the year. I'll pound that drum, and it's exactly what the Suns need for a guy to come off the bench and just cook for them. They were missing that guy last year. And not only that, a guy that can spot start, and it's not, great. Years ago, it was Casey Jacobson starting for this team. Casey Jacobson's a great person, but on the Suns, not exactly the ideal guy to backing up Steve Nash. And now it's, okay, Book's out for 2 weeks. Insert Grayson in there. They're totally fine. That is something that Grayson Allen can do, to the points of a Malik Monk, or to the points of years ago, Clippers 6th man of the year in the bubble. Forgot his name. But either way,
Williams.
guys like, not Lou Williams, not the guy I was thinking of, but Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams are also great examples
Norm
and better
Powell,
examples
another Clipper
than what I was going to say. But anyways, I wanted to give you a chance. Do you agree with me on that? Grayson Allen, a potential 6th man of the year.
I wouldn't have asked it if I didn't think it. I mean, he's plus 3,500 on FanDuel, but he's behind guys like Jordan Clarkson, the Jazz players not winning 6th man of the year. Let's be realistic here. Jaime Jaquez, I mean, I guess, but like Miles McBride from the Knicks. I mean, they need a bench, so I guess I can see the Knicks thing. Bobby Portis. I mean, Bobby Portis looks like he might be headed toward the wrong side of his career. Russell Westbrook plus 2,000. Come on.
Oh,
we've seen
God.
that
if you want to go ahead and throw your money away, go ahead and bet it on Russell Westbrook. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, obviously, like Monk, Mathurin, Naz Reid, there's going to be a lot of the usual suspects here. Alex Caruso, of course, now in OKC, but I think Grayson is as good a bet as anybody. All right, let's get to this final roster spot. The Suns cut all 3 players they brought in for training camp deals, including Frank Kaminsky. Where does that leave them, and what does it mean? Next. First, today's show brought to you by BetterHelp, making therapy easier and more accessible for all of us. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't involve zombies or ghosts? Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them, because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding yourself back. Said it before, I will say it a million times. Therapy does not need to be only in case of emergency. It's not break glass if you need it. It is something that I've benefited from, that you can benefit from, to learn positive coping skills, set boundaries, just be the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp by visiting BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Ben, let's close it out here. One more reminder to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter by going to LockedOnDaily.com or clicking that link in the show description below for your one-stop shop every day for all things hoops. Okay, so Mamadi Diakite, Moses Wood, Frank Kaminsky. Long live their Suns tenures, although Frank obviously had a real one at one point. They're all gone, Ben. So this team has 14 players on it now, and it appears as if they're going to roll into the regular season, keeping that open. What are your thoughts?
I mean, before I get into what my thoughts are, just because you had mentioned Frank Kaminsky and he started popping up in the back of my head of kind of irrelevant Suns bench players that fans loved. Do you have he was fine, contributed at times, Suns bench player that you just can't quit, that you just love? Because mine was always Pat Burke. I love Pat Burke.
Okay.
I liked Walter McCartney years ago. I actually liked James Jones. Jim Jackson was a little too good to be in this tier.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's Pat Burke. I think it's Pat Burke for me. Do you have anyone? Because I mean, the it wasn't huge, but the minor, which is too much, outcry for Kaminsky getting cut was like the Pat Burke thing, where he was not changing a single point in this season, like literally a singular point.
You know what it is, though? It's that Suns fan. It's that fans. It's the guys we can relate to.
Yeah.
We can see ourselves in the guy who's like playing 8 minutes a night and kind of looks clumsy and, may or may not have it going on any given night. Or like James Jones, that when he was here, he was the young guy that kind of kept to himself. And, so I think that's it. Mine are, I'll throw two. I probably could have like 10 if I wanted to go through it, but Gerald Green, love the Gerald Green season, 2013-14, when they almost made the playoffs and he was just a gunner, was absolutely incredible. And then Marcin Gortat, he did start, but at first he was a bench player. So I'm gonna go
Pat Burke's long lost brother, Marcin Gortat. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
He
was the starter Nash's last season, but he fits this mold, I think.
I feel like Gerald Green is too good to be in that tier because he was pretty effective that year, where they could have been the 3rd seed in the East but weren't making the playoffs in the West. But sorry, I
had
thought
a case
that was
for like 6th man of the year that year. If the votes had gone a different way. Yeah, he was 74 games played, shot 35% from 3, and shot 40% from 3.
I was going to say 35
all
seems
82
a little low.
games that year. Actually, I had it a little wrong there. So yeah, 4th in most improved voting. Yeah. So look,
he got 4th in most improved. Wow, that's impressive.
Saved his career there, I guess. Yeah. So okay, they have 14 guys, and they'll have 3 two-way players. Although for some reason on Basketball Reference, Bol is listed as a two-way player.
Don't let the fanboys see that one. Do not let them see that one.
He wasn't even last year, which is the
no,
funny
he wasn't.
Part. He's never been a two-way player on the Suns. I think a few things could happen here, Ben. So. And I think it's a smart decision to just keep the flexibility. They didn't have an obvious candidate to fill this spot. Could they have done a Lonnie Walker? I mean, that's not a player type that they really need. Could they have gone out and gotten another big man just to feel a little better about it? Sure, but that's going to be there in November or in February if they need that. There's no need to rush into it now. Obviously, people's minds go to trades, right? You can take back more players than you send out in a trade, and then you don't have to cut anybody. So you have that kind of built-in flexibility from that standpoint if you want it. I'm not sure I don't think they have a move they know they're going to make, and that's what this is for, but it helps if you need it. There's obviously buyout players after the deadline, like a Thad Young or a Terrence Ross, as we've seen the past couple years, if those guys become available.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, sure. Ben Simmons. If you wanna do a Ben Simmons rant here before the end of the episode,
I don't need to do a Ben Simmons rant.
Okay.
I actually learned that they can't even get Ben Simmons. I was just saying it to poke at you.
Why not?
They can't bring back a player that got bought out that made more money than the vet minimum.
Oh yeah, because of the second.
So stupid, but I learned that when we were talking about on the show. So we didn't even need to do a Ben Simmons thing because he was never coming back here because the Suns are never trading for Ben Simmons. Just
that one is stupid. That's
so stupid. Half of them are stupid.
If they're getting bought out, then they're not good enough for their whatever their salary had been to matter anymore. If they were a $40 million worth player, they wouldn't be getting bought out. So who cares if the second apron teams get to have them or not? They're not going to make a difference anyway.
I guess they were worried Steph Curry was going to get bought out and then signed for a vet minimum somewhere. Stupidest thing ever. But all the things that you had mentioned, I saw some mentions about Lonnie Walker. Suns fans, we have enough undersized guards who aren't very good defenders that literally does things that Booker and Beal and Tyus Jones do, but like at a 50% worst way of doing it. Lonnie Walker had one good playoff game years ago. That was cool. Fun little story. No, I'm good. Bismack Biyombo will be there in November if we need him. Like he just will be.
He retired.
So if you
He's done.
Yeah. Is he? I totally forgot that Bismack Biyombo retired, but whatever. That type of guy will be available in November if they need a guy. Keep it open. It just makes things easier. And you had mentioned it before the show, which is something I hadn't even thought of. They just don't have to pay that guy, and they're up the wazoo in tax apron issues. They can't even sign Ben Simmons for goodness sake. So I just keep it open. Just keep it open.
The paying the guy, because it sounds like the dude makes $2 million. Who cares? But what people need to realize is one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot with these new tax constraints for teams is it's not just the rules that we all care about, because it's the way that the limitations on the team getting better with trades and free agency and all the stuff we've all been talking about. From a payment standpoint, like just how much these owners are on the hook for, the new CBA also increased the dollar per salary dollar that you pay in tax money. So it used to be one thing, which was already bad enough. They upped it. And if you're in the repeater tax, they upped what that escalation is. So it really just makes no sense to pay somebody $2 million, $3 million, and then all of that money on top of it if you literally aren't going to play that player and there's nobody developmentally or anything that you want to have on your roster. So I think it could be that, frankly, more than anything else. Maybe they fill it eventually, but right now everybody's healthy. There's no reason to go for it. The last thing I would say, one thing that I think people maybe sometimes forget about, and it's a conversation for way in the future because, again, no need to rush it. Two-way players can't participate in the playoffs. So the ability to say, I'm going to put Ty Washington off to the side, but the other two guys, Colin Gillespie and Jalen Bridges, if either one of them flashes, or if for some reason you have an injury or something changes about your roster in a trade, and those guys are your best option, rather than some buyout player who, like you just said, they're restricted on now, maybe those guys just get bumped up, but you need a real roster spot to do that. Two-way players, as we talked about it with Ish Wainwright a couple years ago, and he got the bump and all of that stuff, you got to be able to escalate them, elevate them, and right now, if you have 15 actual players, you're kind of screwed. So one last avenue.
It's also kind of nice for a player to be able to work their way up to be a playoff guy. We saw this years ago with Ish Wainwright, who worked his way onto the playoff roster and was eventually bumped up. That 15th player that the Suns can add or not add, it literally is going to change nothing. If anything, it's just good for a guy at the end of the year, like a Colin Gillespie, who I'll be championing for, to earn the right to be that next guy who earns a playoff spot, even if we know he won't play. So just keep it open. Just keep it wide open.
That will wrap us up. Don't forget to go to LockedOnDaily.com or click that link down below to get a all things basketball newsletter straight to your inbox every single day as we launch those daily newsletters. Hit follow or subscribe here on the feed if you haven't already to get a new episode tomorrow on opening day for the Suns. Opening day for the NBA is already here. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.